What's up, everybody? Welcome to BioS 3 Raw TV. I wanted to film this video before I forget to film it, which happens quite often. So when I'm busy doing shit, if I can't get to the camera right away, I forget to actually film the video. So there's a lot of videos and information stuck in my head that I've actually just kind of forgot about because I got sidetracked with ADD and shit. That's just how that works. So today we're going to talk about kind of going off of the IFWAM, calories in, calories out, how I put up that video about how sleep deprivation affects hormones and affects whether or not you gain or lose fat despite being on caloric maintenance. Now, IFWAM crowd, calories in, calories out crowd cannot argue with that. Period. It's a scientific study. They can't fucking argue with it. I don't want to hear it. It's fucking, that's what they need to be, to be learning new things, is to have a study thrown in their face. Now, I'm going to go on and take that one step further and explain how in a caloric deficit, you can still gain fat and lose muscle, okay? Well, let's not even worry about the muscle, but you could still gain fat in a caloric deficit. Now, notice I didn't say gain weight, okay? There is terminology that's used that many of the calories in, calories out crew don't even realize that they don't understand. Everything they talk about is weight loss, weight loss, weight loss. Well, weight means body fat as well as muscle together. Okay, that's not what we want to do as fit individuals. We don't want to lose muscle ever. We want to maintain our muscle mass, if not increase it, to have a faster metabolism. Now, if you sit down with the calories in, calories out crew and explain to them how this works, they're never going to replicate this. I won't do it because I've done it in the past. When we didn't have fucking video cameras and all this bullshit, I would go on a caloric maintenance diet and do my chicken, rice, broccoli, all the bullshit I normally do, how I normally eat. Then switch to IFWAM, which was very breakfast cereals for dinner and stuff, but counting all the macros, making sure everything was exact, and my body composition changed. The scale would not change, but I would lose muscle and gain fat. Why? Because it wasn't the same macronutrients being met. It was calories, but it wasn't the macronutrients. So although I was in a caloric deficit, the weight stayed the same, and my body would start to shift. I'd lose muscle and gain fat. How the fuck can you possibly maintain weight and change your body composition based on a caloric deficit? Fat gain is impossible. That's not true. Now, I think I actually have to explain the mechanism, because then they can't fucking argue. So that's the thing about these people, is you have to fucking go down to every single fine little detail. They can't be left to think of anything for themselves because they can't think for themselves. They're told what to think. The study tells them what to think. The person telling them, I have a PhD, tells them what to think. They don't actually think. They regurgitate shit that they're told. Now, that being said, I challenge any IFWAMer, I challenge any fucking calories in, calories out person to go on a caloric maintenance diet, okay? Meaning, go on, you know what? Fuck maintenance. We're going to go to caloric deficit, a 250 calorie deficit diet, okay? So let's say you're on, 2250. That's your fucking caloric maintenance. Now you go on 2000. You're 250 calories in debt or a deficit, right? Now over time, 250 calories a day, you will lead up to 1 pound of fat loss. Roughly, you got 250, that's 1 pound. I mean, that's 1,000, 2,000, 3,000. So about roughly a little over 3/4 of a pound of fat loss a week should occur from that specific caloric restriction, okay? Now, what I want them to do is calorically, macronutrient-wise, only eat carbohydrates and fats. Do not eat any protein. Take the protein sources right out. So you're eating rice. Of course, you get a little bit of protein in the rice and oatmeal and stuff, but you're eating carbohydrate-laden and fat-laden foods, not protein. You do not eat any meats. You don't take any amino acids. You don't drink any milks. You do not have any protein, okay? And we do this for 4 weeks. 4 weeks they're on this program. And what's going to happen is the first week, your body's going to drop a little bit of body fat because calorically, they pulled the calories a little bit. So the body's going to make up for that. As the hormones start to adjust and change, as the body starts to tap into muscle for fuel. Now, not fuel as it needs energy because it has plenty of carbs and fats. However, your body's going to want the rebuilding process to still happen. It's going to be very deficient in amino acids. So what it does is actually tear down muscle tissue it's like tearing down to rebuild, which makes no fucking sense, right? But that's how it works. It doesn't just kind of sit there stagnant and just wait for protein for the rest of your fucking life. It tears down building. That's how it works, right? So as it's tearing down that muscle tissue to try to rebuild, now amino acid wise, the way things are arranged in muscle tissue itself, just because you're tearing down a pound of muscle doesn't mean the same amino acids are going to be left from that process to rebuild that pound of muscle. But it takes all those amino acids in those ratios that it tore down to rebuild the muscle, because there's no additional amino acids coming in to pull from the bloodstream or the amino acid pool. Therefore, you lose muscle. Now what happens is the second week on this experiment, everything slows down and just kind of stops. You're like, wow, the scale isn't moving up and down, but you're in a 250 calorie deficit, but you're only down like a pound, right? So even if you did the calculations, you should still be in enough deficit to keep losing weight. The weight's completely stable after week 2. What the fuck is going on here? Now week 3 comes, the weight's completely stable, so you're like, I'm not losing weight. However, I feel like I look a little bit different, right? I'm not as sharp as I was. I feel like a little bit weaker in the gym. By week 4, when you test your body fat, doing only carbs and fats in a 250 calorie deficit per day, your body fat will have gone up and your fucking muscle mass will have gone down. Now you have gained fat in a deficit, period. Jerry, how is that even possible? Well, the IFOM crowd wouldn't take that for fun. They would, that answer is impossible. No way. Here's the problem. As you're losing that muscle tissue and you're not able to build it back up, you have less metabolically active tissue. You are therefore burning part of your metabolism up as you're fucking dropping that muscle. You're losing part of your metabolism. Your body's adapting to output energy at a more efficient rate, and what it's doing is slowing down metabolism. So now you're technically no longer in any caloric deficit because your muscle mass is down. You have less metabolically active tissue. All these formulas from calories in, calories out focus on weight, not the macronutrients which keep your muscle mass high. They always say it's all about the calories. It's actually all about those macros. That's what it is, okay? If it wasn't about the macros, then you would be able to simply just cut calories across the board, have no protein, you would maintain muscle mass, you'd have energy, you'd feel great and lose fat in a caloric deficit. Because you're eating a fuck ton of carbs, right? So you should feel really good on tons of carbs, but you don't. You don't have that feeling. Why? Because your body's burning up muscle. When that happens, your body goes through it almost feels like a flu sometimes. Like you feel kind of off. I can't explain it. You're like foggy. You're basically, your brain thinks it's starving, and it's got all these carbs and stuff coming in, but it's like, I don't have any stimulus to keep the muscle. So fuck, I'm inactive, right? So I'm technically starving the protein or the amino acids off because I'm inactive. Being inactive, means that I can atrophy a little bit, but you're not inactive. You're just not rebuilding at the rate that you're tearing down because you don't have the amino acids. Now, after that 4 weeks, stay on the same calories, 2,000 calories. You now switch to lowering the carbs, adding your protein back in, lowering the fats, evening things out. And all of a sudden, over the next 4 weeks, your body composition changes. You have now gained muscle in a caloric deficit. Holy fuck, the same shit they say could not happen. Why? Because you're going back to the muscle mass you had, and calorically, that is what is needed for or not calorically, macronutrient-wise, that's what's needed, the protein for that muscle mass to be regenerated or grown again, or muscle memory to bring it back. But even in a caloric deficit, you can gain fat and gain muscle. It's not just about weight. It's not just about the scale. It's not about those fucking calories that you motherfuckers have been counting for decades and still fucking failing over and over again long term. Because anything can happen to your body in the short term. It's long term that takes control and knowledge and wisdom. Without that shit, you're fucked. You're spinning your wheels and then running to the internet, looking at what everybody is saying, trying to get everyone's opinions because you don't know what to do, because you don't understand these simple facts that I have just explained that any good coach, dietitian, or whatever out there should know. It's lack of knowledge, or even, it's lack of knowledge, but it's also lack of ego, or not lack of ego, but it's too much ego. So what happens is when someone like me comes along and I don't have a PhD and I'm not fucking smart and I'm not one of the fucking top guys out there who went to school and stuff, and I say this stuff, they go, that doesn't matter that much. So you're trying to tell me fucking thousands and thousands of years of fucking evolution, how our bodies work, go out the fucking window because you don't want to admit that I'm saying what I'm saying actually fucking works? What I'm saying is next level shit compared to calories that you don't want to deal with, because then there's so many variables to deal with. You can't control your clients' fucking physiques. There's too many variables. So you would rather have them lose weight by watching that fucking scale go up and down and not really worry about their muscle mass, not really worry about fucking whether or not they're nourishing their bodies as far as fat-soluble vitamins, as far as the fats that are needed for the fat-soluble vitamins, as far as carbohydrates that are needed for the daily needs and not just thrown in there because they're fun to eat like a fucking asshole, right? You can't control that shit. You can't control their physiques with too many variables because it's too much for your fucking brain because you yourself have been taught it's just about calories. All I need is this one thing. I figured it out. I get the key. If you got the key, why haven't you changed enough bodies? If you got the key, why can't you keep your own fucking body from changing? Why can't you maintain? Why can't you go up and down in body? You don't. You make these small jumps. Your clients, I've seen these guys and girls. These clients get such subpar results following these fucking caloric schemes and dumbass fucking formulas that these people have out there that I'm like, haven't you guys had enough? Aren't you guys fucking upset? Aren't you guys finally like, look, you guys fucking are trying to do something that can be done and is out there, but you're gonna stick with these motherfuckers and keep spinning your fucking wheels rather than actually getting to the physique you want, rather than actually understanding how this shit works? It blows my fucking mind. I sit back every day and I'm like, you gotta be fucking kidding me. Yes, you can lose muscle, or gain muscle in a caloric deficit, and you can gain body fat in a caloric deficit. Yes, your muscle mass and hormones change, which is what controls that. Anyone in that scientific community, anyone in the fucking IFOM community, anyone in the calories in, calories out community cannot argue with the fact that when macronutrients are changed, your body changes. When calories change, your body changes. However, you can manipulate where your body changes with the macros way more efficiently than with the fucking calories. You just need to understand what the fuck is going on. BioStrengthTraining@gmail.com. Leave comments down below, but don't fight. BioStrength.com is a blog. It's the macros rule, calories drool, and we are out.